Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show. This is your essential playbook to grow and scale your vacation rental business with advice and insights from the best in the biz. I'm your host, Lynell Gordon. Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show. I'm Lynell Gordon, your host. And guys, I am so excited about our guest today. We have Lino Maldonado along with Brady Stump, who is one of my favorite people on this planet, just saying. And they are co-founders at a group called Stakeholders VR. And guys, this is so important. I hope you pay attention here. They're doing one of the coolest things in the industry that I've ever seen done. So Lino's the CEO, Brady's a co-founder, and he's just Mr. Brilliance. If you know Brady, you know that, and just the kindest, sweetest person that exists on the planet. Thank you guys for coming.
It's our pleasure. So proud to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So excited to be on your show, Lynell, and congrats on all the success too.
Oh, thank you. So tell me this, guys. We're going to talk about stakeholders. I want to know what it is and why it is the coolest, latest, greatest out there, because I know it is, but I want you guys to tell me if you're a property manager and you've ever thought about selling your company, or you've even thought about selling part of your company and just getting some cash out of it, or you've thought about diversifying with a larger group, this is the time to listen. Property management companies that they are putting together as a super group, right?
Spot on. I will say that if you're a property manager that just is looking to sell your company and move on to go do something else, you're probably not the right fit for us. We're looking for property managers who want to join something larger than themselves. As you said very well, Lynell, to diversify their risk portfolio, to learn and synergize with like-minded property managers from around the country. And quite frankly, we just didn't see that as an existing lane today. And so we are literally on the hunt for the best of the best brands in each of the markets where a typical sort of sell and move on isn't the right fit, and perhaps even a franchise model is not the right fit. We're right down that center lane, giving you the options to join a larger group, to remove some of your cash out of your business, but also be part of something bigger and greater than a single location operator.
So Brady, tell me why this is so different than what other people are doing in the market.
I think much of what Lino was talking about in that, I think there was this opportunity to bring together these really top-notch brands. Before I started Lynell Gordon, actually here locally in Pawleys Island, had a real estate property management company. We were affiliated with Christie's Auction House. It was like Christie's International Real Estate, and was just looking to also do something with my two sons, recent graduates at Clemson. We're partners in a local property management company here locally. And it was kind of a convergence of just different conversations I'd had with property managers and entrepreneurs. And just to Lino's point, there was this third lane that Lino talks about so greatly, where it didn't really exist in the marketplace, where we didn't really want to work with owners that wanted to cash out 90%. The franchise model is another great model, but we really wanted to bring together a bunch of fantastic, legendary local brands, but also entrepreneurs that they still have a fire in their belly. They still get up every day. They still have that energy to want to create something. And a lot of times, these are generational family companies as well that want to be a part of this. So all of those different things coming together is where we are on the road today.
I love the fact that we're talking about this. Brady's property manager. I've owned my own real estate company. Lino's property manager for many years, guys, that we've been in business. And I have yet to see something that has been this exciting for me for property managers. And I'll tell you why. The reason is because based on what I hear from you guys, it's such a win for the property manager. The thing that I've seen that really distinguishes is there's more money in it for the property manager. So Lino, tell me a little bit more about the super group and how that's going to work.
We think that the greatest value in these companies are the very things that are typically removed in the first few months or year after acquisition. We think those are the heart and soul of these businesses. And so we actually have people signed today. We've got several in the same markets that we're not going to combine the brands together into a single brand. We're going to honor and respect the brands that are there and then multiply synergies by bringing them together operationally and also not really challenging their tech stacks either. Changing tech in itself is the single most disruptive, self-inflicted wound you will ever do to one of these businesses. I've seen it, I've done it, I've been through RFPs over the years, and it's just so disruptive, we have to avoid it at all costs. Now, that does not mean that there won't be a time that a company might outgrow a current piece of technology that they use or a PMS or whatever. But our small but core leadership team is going to be focused on servicing those needs, being aware of what the other pieces of the group are using, and also what's coming forward, the next thing, right? The AI tools, the more modern PMS sort of architecture, these sorts of things to add value to that local decision that has to be made. So we're very excited about how different our model actually is.
So I hear you saying that the property manager, you're going to keep them on board to help run it if they want to do that for a certain length of time. And that if it is a generational brand, that the kids can continue to work for it and they'll get a piece of the pie. And I hear you saying that the local branding is incredibly important. Is that right?
It is. To me, to be successful in a local market, you've got to be involved in the local market. And I drive by the local high school and junior high school on a regular basis, and I love to see the local real estate companies on the billboards. A cool fact here, my daughter works in our company, Scenic Stays, in Destin. In fact, she is sitting in the office that I sat in 30 years ago when I started at this one particular property, which is so cool to think about.
Yes.
She's already outperforming me even back in those days. Brady's son works in his business. The guy we signed today, earlier, his son works in his business. That is precisely the owner-operator that we want. You made the point that, do we want the operators in for a year? Or we want them in for as long as they want to be in, to put it that way. There's no rush to change anything. In fact, it's not even part of our model. Succession planning, however, will be part of the model because we will all retire at some point, right? Passion and fire in the belly, that is the secret sauce that has created so much value in these local brands. Why screw it up?
I was just going to add to Lino's point, part of that passion comes with, I think as entrepreneurs and operators, sometimes that we undervalue the opportunity. Life is short. And if you can create opportunities, some of these local brands around the country that Lino and I get to meet, they have 2 and 3 generations of family members involved in their companies and putting our money where our mouth is. As they say, Lino has his daughter involved. I have my oldest son, Jonah, helping run operations at Sea Mountain. My youngest is helping us with a lot of the things that we're doing and pulling the whole group together. They got a chance to meet a bunch of people that I'm sure listen to your show, Lynell, at the Burma Executive Summit. Everyone was so kind and gracious and nice to them. But this is certainly something that we see this with these other local brands. And part of their secret sauce is having real ownership in those entities. And I think that comes from family, that comes from having higher purpose. And then also back to a point that Lino earlier made was some of these brands, when they cash out 90% or whatever, whether they realize it or they don't, they have one foot out the door, right? And so if we can create winning scenarios where at a higher valuation, potentially, they can take a few chips off the table, but still play a big part in the future upside, I think that really creates kind of that win-win scenario.
Brady, I want to say that number one, your sons are amazing. They're smart.
Oh, thank you so much.
They are so kind. They just are the nicest men. They're really awesome. So I'm so glad you brought them in. What do you say to property managers out there who are looking at this and they're like, well, I don't want a boss. That's why I'm an entrepreneur. I work for myself. How is this going to change the way that I do business? Am I going to have to come to you every time I need to spend $100?
So our core group is going to be at the service of our local operations. And so it is with a servant's heart and a spirit of hospitality that we're going to lead the business. We are a servant group that's going to be able to not only pull synergies together from around the country, but also anticipate what next steps or challenges in the business will be. We've been there, we've done it. And I like to use the example of the CTO that actually will be one of our next big announcements. And I'll share the exact conversation that I had with this person. Typically, a CTO is the one who makes all the decisions for the technology in the business. This role, he's got 3 goals. The first goal is going to be to understand every piece of tech that's currently being used within stakeholders, all of the partners. He's got to know it intimately, how it's working, how to leverage it better from one location to the next. And I'll share just a cute story on that. When we bought a company in 2010, it was called Kaiser Vacation Rentals, one of the best companies in the Gulf Shores Orange Beach market, really good friends to this day. I was sharing a little stats with Glenn Kaiser. And I said, Glenn, how are you guys doing with travel insurance? We've got over a 23% close rate. He said, that's cute. Ours is like 38. I'm like, man, so I got to see, what can I learn from this local operator to improve myself? So that's one of the areas of opportunity, I think, with our CTO. Learn what's being used, learn how it's being leveraged, be able to measure the successes across the country. The second piece is, and as I kind of alluded to earlier, when it's time for a local company to either add a piece of technology, to evaluate a new piece, if they've just outgrown their, let's say, PMS as an example, this individual needs to know what's in the market, what's the best fit for that local operation. And every operation is different and has different geographical challenges and the like. So what's going to be the best fit for that particular company? And then the third area is they need to know what's coming next. How are we going to best leverage AI? For me, AI is a buzzword, right? There are some use cases that are in existence today. There's going to be millions of them down the road. We have to understand how to leverage that to the best of our abilities in support of our local companies. That's true with our CFO role. That's true with our maybe 5 roles in total at the parent level. Operations for this company is going to be in the field where it belongs, closest to the owners, the guests, and the associates. That's a founding premise of stakeholders.
Another thing that I find really important, and Brady, I want you to talk to this because you've seen whole areas that have been wiped out by disasters. We've seen a lot of that recently. Talk to me about how this supergroup helps with diversification for companies who are in those areas or in areas that are prone to hurricanes or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stats that we saw, Lynell, were really interesting in investigating this, trying to find that perfect lane, what didn't exist in the market. We talked to a lot of property managers that had 80, 90, 90% plus of their personal or their family's net worth tied up in this property management company. So just from the outside, that's like having all of your 401k in one stock, right? The life and death of just that one stock. And one of the things that has been told to Lino and I and our partners is that it's now really become a foundational piece of the conversations that we're having, is that when you bring together a group of great property managers, whether they be in Florida or Myrtle Beach or Gatlinburg or Maui or whatever, and you have these property managers that are rolling 40, 50, 60% of the valuation of their company, they're rolling it forward in the holdco, is that they're de-risking themselves, right? Is they're diversifying their personal net worth versus having all of my net worth tied up along the Florida coast or in the Alabama Gulf Shores or in the Outer Banks. Now I have de-risked myself and my family's long-term generational net worth into 20, 30 locations all around the country. And that's really strong, right? That's just personally being smart with some of the patriarchs and different folks that have started these different family businesses. They're also setting their family up for long-term generational success because they have chosen to kind of be that leader of the family to say, hey, I'm not going to risk and put all my chips on this one little X on the map, right? I'm going to de-risk myself and de-risk this $8, $10, $20 million family business into this portfolio of a fellow blue chip A+ guys and gals operating around the country. And that has been a really awesome dynamic that we're starting to see play out across the country.
So what you're talking about is property managers who are taking a stake in their company and they're investing it into this super group. And there's a diversification that can happen as well as it's really a way to protect long-term your company. I love the servant leadership, Lino, that you talk about. We're looking for people that know how to do what they're doing right now. They're doing it well. And we're not looking to change that. We're looking to enhance. Am I right?
You are so spot on. For us, it's go into these markets, find the best operators, and touch as little as possible. The value does not come from the parent group. The parent group should be in support of the success of the local operations. And that will be different market to market. There will be challenges that inevitably rise. When you think about diversification of your investment portfolio, you've got fires, you've got floods. I don't use the H word. I say wind events here in the Panhandle of Florida. You've got no snow years. All of these things are going to happen. We need to be able to manage carefully when they do in support of those local operators, not teach them how to run their business. They know how to do that. They've built these wonderful brands, and that should be celebrated.
And that's the reason you're interested in talking to them to start with.
Absolutely.
The Vacation Rental Show has partnered with Lynell Gordon to bring the vacation rentals market custom protection products built for the needs of the vacation rental industry. Enjoy complete protection for both your travelers and your owners via the industry's leading travel, damage, and liability protection products. Learn more about the travel tech industry's most advanced travel and damage protection platform and API at rentalguardian.com. So I'm going to move on to another part of the show where I want to talk to you about your favorite stories. Let me ask you this, Lino, tell me your favorite owner or guest story from your 30 years of experience in property management.
Oh my God. So the people that know me well know that I am a storyteller. And of course, haven't been in the industry so long. There's a couple that immediately come to mind. I'll buzz through the first one. We get a complaint, some noise. One of the rooms is a condo building. Myself and my guest service manager go up to the room, and these group of guys had literally built extra walls in the unit with beer cans. It was such a great party.
It's a lot of beer.
It's a lot of beer. The other story that comes to mind is, I call it my light bulb story. So I get a page one night. It was about 7 o'clock. I had just left the office, and I was only in the business about a year at this point. And my responsibility at the time was to manage all of the large homes within our portfolio for a company called Abbott Resorts, which is where I started before they rolled into Resort Quest. And so I get this page at about 6 o'clock, 6:30. I turn the car around, find a payphone, call it, and it's a guy and his family staying at a house called the Pyatt Regency. And these kind of things just get burned into your memory. So I pull up at the house, and it's a big house. I mean, it sleeps probably 18 or 20. This guy shows up at the door, and he said, "Are you Lino?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I am. How may I help you?" And he says, "You got a pen and paper with you?" I said, "Yes, sir, I do." And he literally said, "Follow me." And as you walked in the house, I could see from the kitchen, through the living room, out to the beach, his whole family's out there having the time of their lives. There's soccer going on, people hitting volleyballs and frisbees, and kids jumping in the pool. And he literally starts walking me through the house to notate light bulbs. Now, keep in mind that of the 47 light bulbs that I changed in that house, none of them were burnt out. They were the wrong wattage for the fixture that they were in. And so this guy was an electrical engineer from Atlanta, Georgia. And he's like, "Hey, this lamp has a max wattage of 60. It might have had a 75 in it." And so I literally that night for a couple of hours went to Walmart to get a bunch of light bulbs. And I changed light bulbs for about 3 or 4 hours under direct supervision while his family's having the time of their life on vacation. This guy's literally kind of cross-armed and just watching me do the work right. I learned a lot. One of the biggest learnings was, this is the hospitality industry. What does it mean? It means that we're delivering services for others, a great experience. And it's not about us. It's about serving the people around us. And that's probably where I got some of my early mindset on what we do for a living.
When you said servant leadership, I take notes when people talk. It's just my thing. And I wrote next to it, hospitality. That's what servant leadership is. Brady, tell me your coolest story about property owners, guests.
Yeah. And I've got a bunch of crazy ones too, just from the whole Lynell Gordon insurance days as well. But before I did that, why I discovered and fell in love with this industry is early in the podcast, I talked about how we had a property management, a real estate company here in Pawleys Island. We had a group contact us, and they wanted to get 4 or 5 properties. It was a wedding group, but they wanted the vacation rental homes to be close together. And so we were a startup. This was like a month or 2 into the property management side. And we had 2 properties. And one of those properties was already booked. And so they liked the one property. And then they said, well, this is a kind of a special request, but we're going to need all of our rentals beside each other. We're like, oh my gosh. Yeah, these are all over town, right? So talking about kind of loving the principle of servant leadership that Lino talked about is we started calling the other property management companies And so we were able to find them like 3 properties. And so that was great. And we go back to the group and we're like, great news. We got 3 properties. We weren't able to get 5, but we got 3 and there's 2 across town. And they were like, Brady, that's good, buddy, but that's just not going to work. We're going to have to take our business across town. We're like, oh no, we want to make this work. We're a startup. We don't have any money. We got to make this work. One of the homes was for sale, right? We contacted the real estate agent. It was furnished and we got that person to do it. The 5th one was owned by someone. They were not playing games. So we went back with them. We're like, we can't get 5, but we got 4. And then they agreed to the deal. So we were like over the moon thrilled. We got 4. That was fantastic. So that was a really cool moment of delivering to this wedding party. And they were thrilled. They were 4 homes, like all in a group. There was like 2 oceanfront and 2 second row. They were all together. From a crazy story, early days of Lynell Gordon, there was a home. They called and they said that they were having issues. They had called the property manager. I had heard this third party from property manager, but they wanted to check out because they were convinced that it was haunted. And so I have never made a post like on LinkedIn. I wonder how many property managers are out there. And I bet it maybe happens in some of these, maybe like in Charleston, South Carolina, some of these historic homes or these older homes in kind of the Northeast. They wanted to check out like a day in because they were convinced that the home was haunted. So I've never put out for public consumption that has other property managers ever had guests that wanted to check out because the home was haunted. So thought that was pretty funny.
I've heard stories that are just the opposite. They wanted to check in because they heard it was haunted. There are some property managers that actually advertise as a haunted house.
Oh my gosh, there you go.
Yeah, there's some on the Oregon coast like that. I had a property manager tell me a story, and I was trying to remember it when you were talking about it, who was talking about a ghost who moved things in the house. Look, you're in hospitality long enough. You deal with a lot of people. We're going to hear it all. But I love your story.
Humans, ghosts, animals. We have black in Gatlinburg. We have black bears breaking into properties. We've had multiple stories of bats, snakes. Property management, you see it all.
There's a property for every guest.
Yeah, right, exactly.
There's a story for every property too. Listen, I want to thank you for taking the time to come and tell about what you're doing. I think it's next gen. I really do. I'm really excited to see what the next 2 years holds for this, guys. I think it's going to really make a difference, number one, in the lives of the property managers that are part of it. And I really believe that it's going to make a difference in the way that people look at selling their property management company. If you're a property manager out there and you are interested in this, you're welcome to contact me. I'm happy to answer questions with you. Brady, if they want to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
They can actually just reach out to me directly. They can email me at brady@stakeholders.us, or they can go to our website at www.stakeholdersvr.com.
Lino, how would they reach you?
Yes, ma'am. Same. Lino@stakeholdersvr.com.
Okay, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well, and I'm happy to give you more information. Again, thanks, guys, for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynell. Appreciate it.
This episode of the Vacation Rental Show is brought to you by Lynell Gordon. To find out more about how Lynell Gordon can help grow your vacation rental business, visit rentalguardian.com. Make sure to search for the Vacation Rental Show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, or anywhere else podcasts are found. And hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. On behalf of the team at Inhabit, thanks for listening.